Hey everybody, Tekking101 here. Okay, so today I've decided to take a little break from discussing Bleach. Instead, today's video is going to be focused on the greatest thing that has ever existed in the universe and will ever exist until entropy reaches its maximum degree and the universe experiences its inevitable heat death. I am, of course, talking about... power! Get more power. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Actually, this video is not really focused on Saitama. Well, not directly, anyway. I've already made 2 videos about him, so if you want to go check those out, be my guest. But no, today's video is going to be about Genos. And the reason I'm making it is because after watching or rewatching the One Punch Man anime for like the 4th time, I've come to a conclusion that I enjoy Genos' character way more than Saitama. And then that got me thinking, like, is Genos supposed to be, like, the real main character here? Is he supposed to be the one that we're really supposed to follow his journey? Because the thing with Saitama is he's an interesting character. He's fucking hilarious to watch. But he doesn't really meet the same criteria as with, like, a typical main character in manga, anyway. Allow me to explain this a little bit better. Alright, so this is just my opinion. I'm sure everyone has a different definition of what, you know, the criteria for a main character should be. But when I look at a main character across fiction, the thing that they should all have in common is they should have some driving factor, some goal which they aspire towards throughout the entire series. And they should not really reach that goal until near the end of their story or the end of the series, you know? For example, you have characters like Luffy and Naruto that aspire to become, you know, they want to achieve a particular rank or a position. You know, Luffy wants to become King of the Pirates, and Naruto wanted to become Hokage. You know, Aster wants to become the Sorcery Emperor, you know, that kind of shit. Then you have other main characters like Ichigo, who doesn't really aspire toward anything particular. He's just kind of like, I want to protect my friends because they're my friends, and I've already made a whole discussion video about Ichigo and why I feel that's kind of a weak goal for your character. I mean, it works for him, Ichigo himself, you know, that's all he needs, but for the reader, they'd be like, really? That's the only reason you're doing all this is just because you're protecting your friend? Okay, I guess it's kind of weak sauce, but I guess we'll have to deal with it. What is Saitama's goal? Well, Saitama's character is basically a guy that got really fucking powerful, and nobody could quench his thirst for battle. Like, no one can give him a good, solid fight to the point where he's excited to, you know, actually brawl, like, oh shit, I might lose. You know, so all throughout the series, that's his like overarching goal is like, I need to find an opponent that can actually be on par with me. But at the same time, he's just kind of like, I would say a little bit depressed about it. He's just like, there's no one out there. Like, there just isn't. No matter what I try, no one would be even close, so I've kind of even stopped getting excited about this, you know? And just due to the nature of One Punch Man, and it's a parody manga, and the nature of Saitama's character and the way it's being set up, the only time I would say it would even be possible that Saitama might fight against somebody that could give him a serious fight, it would be at the very end of the series, and the character that he fights would just be as ridiculous and kind of like full of satire as he is. You know what I mean? It's not like, don't expect like the next story arc of One Punch Man to feature oh, here's the character that's gonna be a rival to Saitama. It's not gonna happen, okay? So that's his overarching goal. Now, Saitama has another goal. When he joins the Hero Association, he wants to, like, you know, he gets put in the C rank, so he's like, I'm gonna climb the ranks, because Genos gets placed in S. So you might be thinking, oh, that's his goal. Well, that doesn't really work, because we know that Saitama, as the reader, is already well and beyond S rank. We know Saitama is stronger than Genos. We know he's stronger than Metal Bat and Tatsumaki and... Tatsumaki-chan... And probably even Blast, you know, probably not even a probably in there, yeah. Saitama's most likely stronger than Blast, you know, unless, you know, one wants to do, like, oh, Blast is the one satire parody character that, you know, Saitama's gonna fight at the end, and that's gonna be, like, some epic brawl there, and then that's how the series is gonna finish off. But, you know, almost all of the other S-rank fighters, save for Blast, Saitama is leagues above them. Alright, so his goal to become part of that echelon, it's kind of a moot point for the reader because we already know he's at that level. So I wouldn't really consider that a fair goal. So after that point, Saitama, you know, looking at ahead of his character, what he's really striving for, you really don't have a lot of stuff to latch onto there. Something else I would say is a really important piece of criteria for a main character, particularly in a fighting manga, is when they get into a fight with somebody, there has to be a tension there that your main character might not always win. When Ichigo fights against fucking Byakuya the first time, you're sitting there and there's an honest question of, I wonder if he's going to win or not. Because it's not a 100% easy answer. You don't really know. So that's an important piece there. You don't want to just have like, oh, this character's going to fight and he's going to win automatically, therefore there's no tension. Now, don't get me wrong. When Saitama fights against an opponent, it is exciting. But there's a difference between exciting and tension. I'd say the tension is, oh man, is Saitama going to lose this one? I don't know. That's non-existent. Okay, Saitama's always going to win. When it comes to excitement, it's like, oh shit, I wonder what crazy technique Saitama's gonna do to fuck up this guy's day. I wonder how he's, Boros is whipping out all those super awesome techniques. He's going Super Saiyan. I wonder what crazy thing, Saitama's gonna do to just make all that irrelevant. So, it's exciting to watch Saitama fight, but it's not tense in the slightest. You know how it's gonna fucking end. So, yeah, when Saitama fights, it's pretty much more focusing on just, like, over-the-top crazy techniques, like, I'm gonna flip this entire piece of the earth over, or it's focused on comedy, like the way he talks to his opponents, or, like, what happened with Sonic, that's more focused on whenever Saitama's fighting. We know how the conclusion's going to be, and one also knows that we know how it's going to end, so he tries to make it as exciting as possible. He's the finishing move, he's the end game, and that's Saitama there. And is that an interesting character? Sure. Is he hilarious? Absolutely. But does he meet these criteria to be a really invested main character? For me, I would say no. So for Genos, what do we have? We have a young man whose entire backstory hinges on his family, his town being killed by this renegade cyborg, and to make it very poetic, I would say, he gets turned into a cyborg because of this event, so it's like, I have to become my enemy in order to defeat my enemy, so that's his overarching goal. He's traveling to try to defeat that cyborg. When he meets Saitama, when he joins the Hero Association, he has a new goal, and that's to become, the top echelon in the S rank, and that is a goal that we are actually invested in, because it's like we know that Genos right now is not on that level. We know he's not as strong as like Tatsumake or Silver Fang or Atomic Samurai. So we want to see him grow. We want to see him getting stronger and getting more upgrades and see what his potential really is. And then when he gets up to that level, we'll actually feel like, yeah, we deserve that, because we saw him going through all these struggles. If he gets up to like the top 10 of the S rank, we know he fucking deserved it. Also, by the way, if you actually look at Genos' battle record, it's really not that good. He hasn't won a lot of fights, a lot of major fights anyway. Like, okay, he fought against Mosquito Girl, he got his ass kicked there. Armored Gorilla, he won that one. Then he fought against Carnage Kabuto or Ashura Rhino, he lost that one. Then it was the Sea King, he got his ass kicked there. Got his Meteorite, I'm going to include the Meteorite on that, got his ass kicked there as well. And then he didn't really do much in the when Boros invaded. He really didn't fight anybody major there. And then if you include the manga, he fought and destroyed G4. So that's like 4 losses, 2 victories. So it's not that good, but that's the good part. He has to improve and get better. And then you get more parts, and that's the shit. Also, I brought up that if you just look at how the enemies in One Punch Man are set up, they're pretty fucking strong. And you also have to consider, like, let's say Saitama wasn't in this story. Like the alien invasion arc, when Boros invades. Let's take that for example. So that arc lasted, what, like 10, 15 chapters, maybe not even that. It was a relatively short arc. When, if you look at the power level of Boros and his minions, if that arc took place and Saitama wasn't in the story, that arc would have been way longer. That would have been like a huge event, like aliens invading and all the S-class heroes, or most of them, have to band together to fight against them. Like, the S-class heroes, like, they would have probably won in the end, but they'd have to all gang up on Boros, and oh my god, that'd be such a fucking metal fight that would have lasted so much longer than Saitama versus Boros. You know what I mean? So it's like Saitama, it's like, oh yeah, these really strong opponents that could be like flushed out more in the story if Saitama wasn't there. they get ended really quickly just to prove how strong he is. And I'm fine with that system. It kind of makes me yearn that somebody should make another manga version of One Punch Man, but they should just remove Saitama. And they should focus on, like, they have to rewrite it a bit, but they should focus on Genos being the main character, and just to see how all these battles would play out if Saitama didn't exist. Like, they would probably have the same results. Like, the Sea King probably would have been defeated eventually, but it would have involved, like, a Mai Mask, or, like, somebody else showing up and fighting him, and that would have been cooler, you know? Yeah, what do you think about this? You know, this idea that, you know, Genos would make a better main character than Saitama, or, you know, his goals are much more clearly defined, and he's a more interesting character. He's still funny. I like him. I mean, if Saitama wasn't around, they wouldn't have that dynamic, which something would probably be lost there. But I'm just saying, if you rewrote it a bit, I think it would work just perfectly fine with Genos being the main character, you know? So, you'd be calling, like, just Demon Cyborg. That's the title of a manga. Someone needs to write that. Okay, anyway, this was a video that didn't really have much of a point, but I was really pumped to talk about Genos, so there you go. Have a good night. See you guys.